Hey, business building warrior, welcome to another episode of Silent Sales Machine Radio. I just got done with an episode recording that I know you are going to absolutely love. I certainly did. I learned a few things. I was encouraged. I was inspired. This is one of those couples that are doing this business together, and they're going to challenge you with their just humble creativity and determination. They're a couple of professionals, very well educated, great career paths, three young boys with a couple of jobs that they never really said they didn't like their jobs necessarily, but they didn't feel like they were building something significant that they could really latch onto, maybe even pass on to their kids someday. They wanted something significant that they could work on together. And here they are, just 2 weeks after Leanza, who I'll introduce in just a moment, she's left her job. And this is less than 4 months after they started down the proven Amazon course strategy that we teach. You hear about pretty much every success story episode that we talk on this podcast. We've got hundreds of them at this point. People using the proven Amazon course to go after the replens strategy. Well, that's what they're doing. Leanza left her full-time corporate job just a couple of weeks ago. Now, Joel, her husband, is still pursuing his career as well, but I think it won't be too far into the future where they'll both be pouring into this, because check this out. Their first full month was a $10,000 sales month. They found about 250 replens so far. They're not even 4 months into their journey. They've already had a $30,000 month, and they're about to do that again as we wrap up the middle of their fourth month. So they're going to have a couple $30,000 months right in a row in under 4 months. Now they're running at about a 30% net profit margin as well, which is pretty phenomenal. They say that this business model and the business that they're building together, you'll hear them say it in their own words here in just a few minutes, is a 10-year answer to prayer. They've been praying for 10 years for something that they could latch onto and do together. They've tried a bunch of other stuff. Nothing really seemed to resonate. Nothing worked out. They got into this and it's taken off. You're going to love hearing how they find inventory, some of the things that they're selling, how they're even shipping some of it themselves, doing merchant fulfill. They're not all FBA. They're finding some things that sell so fast that as soon as they find it in the store, they list it and it sells. So they just go ahead and ship it. They don't need Amazon's shipping help for that. So they've got, like I mentioned, over a couple hundred, 250 replens, about 100 of them active, because they just don't have time to even go find and buy all of the great inventory that they're able to source now. We spent some time talking about the wholesale strategies that they're using. They've been through the proven wholesalesourcing.com training. They're very excited about that. They've already had a huge win that just almost miraculously fell right into their lap. And they say it was a blessing from God the way it worked out. They've surrounded their whole business in prayer, by the way, which I think, and they would agree, is a big reason why this is working so well for them so fast, is they just turned it all over to God and asked him to bless it. It sure looks to me like he is. We hear so many great success stories like this of families getting under the same roof a little more often, doing business together, something everybody can contribute to, using the creative strategies that we teach around here to build a beautiful business. And this is just the latest couple that's doing that. One other thing I want to point out is they're doing their best. It looks like they're going to be hopefully attending the Proven Conference. Theprovenconference.com is the website. We've got hundreds of people already registered. The hotel's starting to fill up. It's going to be a beautiful event, August 12th through 14th, 2022 in Louisville, Kentucky. Our guests today, Joel and Leanza Beighle, that's their name, are hoping to make it. They've got some young kids and some school issues, but it looks like they will be there. But hundreds of people already registered. It's going to be a great event. We had our last year's event in Tampa. I think we had about 600 people there. I think we can expect something along those same lines this year in Louisville. We want you there. Come hang out with great people like the ones you're about to meet, all the great people from our Facebook community, the success stories you've heard on this podcast. We've got about 60 coaches. They're going to be there. We'd really love to have you there. So that's the last thing I'm going to say before I jump into our interview. Fully unedited conversation with a couple that, like I said, they started. Here we are, as I'm recording this, towards the middle of May 2022. They started February of this year. That's when they started. They didn't have their first sale until February of this year. And they're at $30,000 a month using the proven Amazon course Replens strategy. Every resource you're going to hear us talk about today, there's a link in the show notes near this video where you can go check it out. If you don't do anything else after listening to this episode, though, you really need to go over to silentjim.com and jump into our free Facebook group. You can scroll through over 1,300 success posts. It's pretty amazing to see story after story, people posting their results, sharing their stories. We're there, 70,000 of us almost, sharing our lives, sharing our stories, encouraging each other forward. We don't see each other as competitors. We see each other as fellow business building warriors. It's my pleasure to introduce to you a couple of true business building warriors that I was very excited to get to know today. That would be Joel and Leanza Beighle. Let's get them on the line right now. So welcome to the show, guys. Great to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
It's truly an honor for me as well. I can't wait to hear your story. Leanza, what do you say? Let's just start with you. Take it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are very new to this. We started selling on Amazon in January, actually. Our very first sale was January 31st.
About 5 months ago as we're recording this, right?
Yes. Very, very, very new at this. There's lots of things we don't know. There's lots of things we're learning each and every day. But it's been a wild ride and we have loved every day of it.
Yeah. That's great. And you're not exaggerating there. You loved every day.
We've had hard days. Now we've had hard days and hectic days. Sure. But we've just found so much joy and fun in it that we really have loved every day of it.
Yeah. It's brought us out of what we've been doing for the past 10 years. And I think that's what we love about it. For 10 years, we've always had the mindset of what we were going into, which was healthcare. We're both nurses. We went into it with a mindset that it was going to kind of slingshot us into something else. But we never really knew what that was. We literally prayed about it for 10 years. And it finally happened this year. We finally had a breakthrough.
So you feel like this is a 10-year answer to prayer?
Yeah.
That's a significant statement.
It is. Yeah. Wow. We had tried a lot of things. We have thought of a lot of things, what we could do. But we never had the funds to do it. And then it kind of started when Leanza, if you want to explain it, like you were just scrolling through Instagram one day and she saw this random person who was driving a nice car. And somebody walked up to him and said, "Hey, you drive a nice car. What do you do for a living?" And he said, "I sell on Amazon." And at that time, we had no clue.
Right. We didn't know that selling on Amazon was a thing. I really thought Amazon owned all the products and sold all the products. I had never heard of third-party sellers on Amazon. And this was probably, a year ago? And so I sent Joel the Instagram and I said, "Hey, did you know you could be a third-party seller on Amazon?"
You sound like a sales rep now.
Yeah, right. And he's like, "No, I had no idea you could be a third-party seller on Amazon." And so it just really intrigued us. So this particular gentleman really pushed like clearance and scanning in stores, that type of thing.
Scanning barcodes, right?
Scanning barcodes. Yep. Looking for like a hot item. And so we looked into it, but we kind of walked away like, ooh, not very dependable, not very reliable income. Maybe something fun for the side, but our lives are very busy. We can't really add anything fun on the side. So I put it on the back burner for many months. And then January 2022 of this past year, we looked at each other and we said, what are we doing with our lives? Are we going to keep doing this corporate thing and working opposite and 9 to 5, Monday through Friday? Or are we going to build something for ourselves and a future?
Well, just to help paint the picture a little bit more, Leanza, let me hear, like, Joel, describe your routine. Like, what's your schedule? You said the corporate career. Like, how early are you getting up? When are you getting home? How different?
Yeah, so I mean, we're both very routine people. We have been. That was kind of when we first got married and started out as nurses and the floor. That was hard for us because we're so routine. But we finally got into a routine where we're 9 to 5. I wake up every morning. I go to the gym. She gets the kids ready, and then we're both off to our jobs. At least she was. She's actually already stepped down from having to work. So
really, so we're not even at 5 months because you started at the end of January or 4 months,
Yeah.
right?
So January 31st was our first sale.
So it basically, it's end of January, beginning of February, you don't even have 4 full months under your belt yet.
Right.
And you're going full time. That's
Right.
tremendous. So
we grew really fast.
Oh, that's phenomenal. I can't wait to get into how you guys did it. But it sounds like you had a pretty brutal routine were you guys working in the same area or did you like part ways every morning?
Right. So Joel does work in an office setting. And sometimes he does have to commute to Jacksonville, which is about an hour and a half drive from here. And then I actually, for my job, I worked from home. I worked in pharmaceuticals, and with that comes a lot of pressure, a lot of, quotas you have to meet and monthly goals. And
Sure.
so, I found myself not so happy in it, actually. And so that's why January hit, and we were like, what can we do to get out of this and break
Change
this
the routine?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Well, good for you guys. I still can't get over, so far, the favorite moment of this podcast so far is a 10-year answer to prayer. Like that's a long time to wait on God to do something. And you guys feel like this. I mean, that's a very emotional thing for me to hear you guys say.
Well, for our 10-year anniversary, we had kind of two options, and it was to go, a big 10-year anniversary, go to a beach somewhere, and just enjoy being together away from the kids. Or we actually decided to go visit my cousin who has a church in Texas and just seek God.
Man, that's awesome.
And that was kind of after the breakthrough. I see her tearing up because it really is like, it makes me want to tear up too, because it is a huge answer to our prayers. But after that 10-year anniversary trip in December, we came home, we prayed, we wrote it down on a piece of paper. We should have brought the paper here, but we wrote out exactly what we wanted. We didn't even know it was going to be Amazon at the time, but we said that we wanted a profitable and successful business that we enjoyed. And
I could stay home.
And that she didn't have to worry about, juggling, working, and the kids. Even though we are still working, it's different when you love it,
Yes. Yeah. A whole nother interesting topic. This is going to be one of those episodes where there's about 40 trails I could run down and have so much fun with, but I'm going to do our best to keep us on track here, and we'll have more time in the future to get to know each other, maybe have you guys back on some of these topics. But this is phenomenal because, for those who haven't heard me say it before, maybe you guys have or haven't, but bringing dads home is part of kind of the core mission that I feel like God laid on my heart when I started this even 20 years ago, because I got to come home and I knew what it felt like. I don't know what it feels like to be a mom who gets to be home. I'll never know that feeling. I know what it feels like to be a dad who gets to be home, though. And I wanted that for as many men as possible. Now, the stuff we teach works for anybody, retired couples, we've got teenagers, the content works, the training works, but just that heart of a dad, being able to be available, be home. As I'm sitting here, I saw a couple of my kids pull in the driveway and drop one of them off who'd been at the warehouse, and he went off to run to pick his sister up. And, he's going to go home to be with his wife later, but the kids come and go all day. We're doing life together. And that feels so great. We're not missing each other.
Right.
Doing it together. And I don't want to beat anybody up when I say that, but man, it's just such a great way to live life, kind of overlapping and intertwined in business and life all to kind of together. I wanted that for as many people as possible. So I don't want to rant or get on my soapbox too quick in this episode, but to see that you guys are there heading in that direction, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And that was another part of our prayers was I wanted to work and pour out my heart into something that I know that we could set up for our children. And that was the toughest thing for me, was that I was putting so much time and effort into something. And I still am, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel,
Yes.
But knowing that we're now pouring our hearts into something that we're going to set our children up for is the biggest blessing. We both came from a family of business owners. And at the time, we were kind of high school sweethearts going into college. It was at that 2008 recession time. And we were just like, all right, what can we do to get married and make sure we have a career that's recession proof? And it was the healthcare, So
sure, the stability attracted you.
But it's good to be on this path now and having future goals for generations.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Very scriptural as well. One of the things I always have in the back of my mind is the mandate that our culture just battles against you actually achieving. And that is leave an inheritance for your children and your children's children. And not just a financial inheritance, although that's certainly part of it, but something they can latch onto, generationally be known for and stand for and appreciate. And the values of what it is we do, what we stand for as a family, that's supposed to move forward generation to generation. Our family stands for this. So well done. So exciting.
Yeah.
But let's get to the business content a little bit to transition back to. We just kind of totally interrupted Leanza as you were telling your great story, and we jumped into routines and schedules and answered prayers. So
yes. So Joel's schedule is very routine. He's up 5 a.m. He's at the gym. And then I am getting the kids ready for school. They're off to school. And then he heads to his office. And then it was me reporting to my job at home. 2 weeks ago, I did step back from it. And because I just saw the potential at Amazon, I was ready to just go all in and put all my time into it. Because I knew if I could grow it on the limited amount of time that we were putting into it as quickly as we did, that I could double it with more time. So we decided I would step back, and we did that about 2 weeks ago.
Just 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Contrast those 2 weeks as a mom with the previous 6 months. Just talk me through it a little bit.
Oh my goodness. Day and night. I have so much more freedom, flexibility. I'm outsourcing. And then we have a baby. He's 1. And so he's with me, of course. And we'll stop and get breakfast together. We'll go to the stores. We'll source. We come home. He takes a nap. I'm packing and prepping. And then typically Joel will be home. He will usually run the UPS drop-offs for me because they are pretty heavy. And then we have dinner as a family. So it's been wonderful to come home.
That's beautiful. Just hearing you describe it, so many things I could jump off into. I'm going to stay disciplined. I'm not going to do it. I want you to keep talking. So keep telling your story. What are you doing? The Amazon routine is now settling in. You're only 2 weeks in.
Yeah. So we were shipping to FBA probably 2 times a week. It should be more. We do have a very specific merchant fulfilled item that we chase, and that sometimes will carry us to other cities. Joel will shop for it in Jacksonville. I'll sometimes run to Orlando once a week for it. So it does keep us kind of on a hunt, but it's worth it because there's a lot of money to be made there. So we seize that opportunity and we're merchant fulfilling it. It's been great. And then we will send off our replens to FBA about twice a week. So that keeps us very busy.
Yeah, between that and the kids, and then coming home from work, we try to find a couple hours in the evening after getting home from work and sending our packages off to pay attention to the kids, because after those 2 hours of getting them fixed for bed then and setting them up on the couch, I'm hitting the computer looking for new items, constantly looking. That's kind of how I spend the rest of my evenings. And then if we're not packing for FBA, and then once the kids settle off to sleep, we're diving into the podcast. We're looking into new content. We're trying to find new replens. We don't get as much of a chance to go out in the evenings to stores like we would. So we're doing a lot of that from online.
Right. A lot of online sourcing. So how old are the kids? You mentioned a 1-year-old. What the others?
So we have 3 boys. Our oldest is 8, 4, and then 1. All boys.
Those are some high maintenance ages.
Yes, nailed it.
I've raised 4 boys, and I'll tell you, they stop being high maintenance at about 15, maybe, and then it's like,
oh my goodness!
Then they just scare you. Like, Dad, I want a motorcycle. Wait, no, you just got your driver's license. Are you kidding? So the challenge with boys, I found this thing is keep them alive till they're 18. Just keep them from doing something so stupid they really hurt themselves until they're 18. Yeah. Wow, that's great. So you guys are off on the same start we had. We had 4 boys, our oldest, and then we added a girl to the mix, and I was in over my head instantly because I was raised with just a brother. I had no idea what I was doing. But she's 15 and they're all older than that now. But you guys are in a great season. But I think it illustrates that this is a business that can kind of be squeezed into the cracks of whatever you can give it on your schedule.
Right.
Not like you have to be at a certain place at a certain time doing certain things every day. You squeeze it in where you can.
Right.
And you guys have ramped it up. How many hours would you say a week but let's not count the last 2 weeks. When you were working full time, you guys both still had the full time gigs. How many hours a week were you guys able to put into this as you grew it?
Yeah. So when I was working, I would say we were probably putting in 20 hours, and those hours were so split up between, let me do 10 minutes here of this, or let me order this product. And then, oh, the kids need this, and I got to start dinner. And, oh, now it's time to get to a practice. So 20 hours, but they were not, let me sit down for 4 hours straight. It's all just squeezed in periodically throughout the day.
Yeah. So would you say that's 10 hours each or 40 total, 20 each?
No, 20 hours together.
Okay. So 10 and 10 kind of thing, right? Yeah. I got you. Just so people have an accurate picture in their head of what's possible and what you guys have accomplished. So, all right, let's get right to the specifics. Where are you guys at? You ramped up very quickly. You started basically February of this year, just a few months ago. We're now in the middle of month 4 for you guys. Give us some numbers if you're comfortable sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. So February was really our first full month, and we started out in grocery, and we did 10,000, and we were like so stoked on that. We were like, our first sale, I went running across the house. Joel was like, I think we sold something. And we were just like, we were so stoked. We were like, oh my goodness, this works. You really can sell on Amazon.
Yeah.
So that was February. And then March, we did 25,000 in sales. And then April, we hit 30,000. And we're on track to probably do another 30,000 for this month of May.
Right. As
I can't believe it. We really can't.
Where we're at right now, we're putting so much into it. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I feel like we're kind of maxed out at 30,000 with being split up between the kids. But I thought that also when we first hit like 20, 25,
Sure.
The next month blew my mind, and God's just been continuing to be really good with it. I tell Leanza, when I'm sourcing, she's like, how did you find this? And I was like, I feel led by the Lord. I'll honestly turn a corner and then see something that just catches my eye, and it turns out like, oh, that's actually a good find, and
it's not always like that. First time I've heard that is you're like, Lord, guide me. I could go to this part of town or to that part of town. Just say a quick prayer. God bless my business. Where do you want to send me? Where are the relationships that you want me to be a part of? And where are the products? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We almost need to add that into the course, I think. Because it's such a consistent thing.
Yeah.
God wants to bless our businesses. I truly believe that. He wants to bless our families. And if we turn it over to him, commit it all as his. So I say all the time, none of this is mine. I'm a steward. I have to give it all back someday. Not that long from now, we're all going to be, not to be too harsh about it, we're all going to be dust. 100 years from now, none of us are still here, right? Yeah. We give it all back. So we're just stewards in the meantime.
Yeah.
And sounds like you guys have that kind of perspective and that kind of heart, and God's blessing you for it. That's beautiful. I love it. So where are you guys sourcing? How many different stores? Tell us some of your strategies that you're using, because you've ramped up fairly quickly. Now, you were proven Amazon course students. We haven't stated the obvious yet. What else have you done to kind of enhance? You mentioned you've listened to this podcast, which is a goldmine of tips and strategies.
And that's it. Yeah, absolutely. So we dove into the PAC course in January. We had a little issue with our account. We tried to open it, and then there was like an issue with our address. So it kind of set us back like 2 weeks of really being able to get started. But looking back, those 2 weeks is when I came across the PAC course, and we had the time where we weren't live being able to list yet on Amazon. So we just dove into the replens course. And so, oh my goodness, every night we would watch it, rewind, watch it again. What did he say? Take pictures, make notes. We didn't want to miss any of that information because it was so informative. And we went out sourcing one night together. We got a babysitter for the kids, and we found absolutely nothing. And we came home very disappointed. And we were like, okay, this is a lot harder than just going into Walmart and finding stuff.
Yeah.
So that night we both were like, what do we do? Like, we're missing something here. And we took a bunch of pictures while we were there. And that night we just went through those pictures and we started running the numbers. We do have RevSeller now, But back then we would just kind of run the numbers and, then we found something here. And then the next aisle, we took pictures of, there's something there. And then as we added all those up, it was like, okay, I think we have enough to send off to FBA to make this amount of money. And we had to learn early on, and we didn't know this, that it is small profit, but large volume.
Yeah.
And we had to change our mindset of being okay with, that smaller profit, but we're going to do this amount of it. And over time, it builds a nice income.
Right. What is your net margin now? You mentioned you've had a $30,000 month. You're about to have another one. You project to. What is your net?
Well, we have Inventory Lab, and that tracks us really, really nicely. So we run about 30% net.
That's phenomenal. That's before you pay yourselves, of course, but that's the cost of your products minus now you're including the cost of prep in there on your net as well.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. That's at the higher end. I mean, you guys are finding some pretty solid, typical what we hear is as you scale and add help and more equipment and your machine gets bigger, you'll drift that 30 back down into, 18, maybe even 15, but all the numbers will have more commas than zeros.
Mm-hmm.
So it's significantly more money to the bottom line.
Right.
But starting out, the two of you at 30% net, that's beautiful. What are the parameters that you're using when you look at a replan? And we're not going to dive a whole lot into it. We're going to talk about Keepa here in a second, because I'm sure you guys are using Keepa. For those who don't know what Keepa is, go listen to podcast episode 369, along with all the other resources we mentioned today. That's where we describe what Keepa is, what it does, why we love it. So if you get in over your head as a new listener to this show, as they start to talk about Keepa, I apologize in advance, but go listen to episode 369 at silentjim.com. That'll help you get up to speed on Keepa. So give me some of your parameters, guys, as you're looking for replens. And you mentioned, and this is a two-part question. You mentioned you went to the store that first night, didn't find anything, but you took some pictures and brought them home. Talk me through what you were looking for, what you did, how you used Keepa to make some good decisions and actually find some replens.
You're the sourcing.
Yeah. So that night, like she said, my win was really taking out my sales, but we turned on the one episode with the lesson with Jimmy, who kind of shows you how to go through, if an item's profitable. We didn't have RevSeller at the time, so it was kind of hard. We realized the importance of that. And I just watched him do it. And then I would pause it and I'd be like, look at a picture, look at it up on Amazon and start running the numbers. And then that was when the, light bulb kind of went off there. And so that was in the meantime of waiting for our account, like the 2 weeks that Leanza mentioned. So we did that, and that's when we finally went live. We kind of just went all in there with what we had found. And it was, I heard the saying later on, inch deep, mile wide, and that couldn't be any more true. That was the real light bulb that went off for me.
Yeah.
And we've just kept adding on, and just keep on looking for new opportunities every time we go. Even if we're going grocery shopping, I'll, run down an aisle and take some pictures and see what we can add to, our replens.
I do the same thing. Andrea knows when she sends me to the store for one quick thing, it's going to be an hour, okay? Because I'm going to go to a section of the store I'm not in all that often, take a couple pictures, send them to our VA, which we can talk a little bit about maybe, guys. I think that's a good next move for you guys. And then maybe spend some time while I'm watching a ball game, cruising through the list myself, the pictures, just seeing what I can find. I love the adventure of the hunt. I enjoy it. But specifically, once you got those pictures home, tell me about some of those first products. I think some of those really stick in your head. Now, don't tell us the exact product, because I'm not looking to create 50 sellers on one of your good ASINs, of course. But what section of the store, what type of product, what price point, and what jumped off the screen at you that told you, yeah, this is a winner?
Yeah, so it was obviously, like she said, in the grocery section, and it was a specific sauce that we found. And I was looking at the price and just kind of looking at first, because I didn't have RevSeller, what it was going for on Amazon. And I was like, well, certainly there's a profit there, and kind of did the calculating and found it out. And to this day,
I think it was a 2-pack.
Yes. Yeah.
That was it. It was like the single wasn't profitable, but then we were like, oh, but there's a listing if you buy 2, then you're making, $3 to $4.
Right.
Now we're on to something.
Yeah. And not staying on getting discouraged in the first page or two of looking through Amazon once, comparing it to your pictures and finding those variations. It was a big thing too. And that was eye-opening, and it just went hand in hand with all the podcasts where, it was connecting, all the dots were connecting. And so to that day, that's one of our consistent ones. I mean, I say to that day, it hasn't been long, but it's still great. It's held up great. And, I love that specific one. We're always... Yeah.
Is it a name brand that most people might recognize? Don't tell us what it is, but is it pretty common, you think?
I think so. I mean,
you've noticed it before.
Yeah, I would think so,
right. Because most of them are. I mean, we still have, and you mentioned it's Walmart. We still have a very decent number. Like pretty much every aisle of Walmart, I've got a handful of replens that we can go source when we need them. Now we've gotten off into some other areas, off the beaten path. The low-hanging fruit areas tend to get, gone through more frequently. Sure. But, we've got some of the more heavy, awkward ones that just seems like no one else wants to mess with. We're like, yeah, okay, we'll keep selling that. Yeah. Right? That's kind of become our model now, is getting, but you guys are off onto such a great start. You're at $30,000 having studied. How much time would you say you guys put into studying this model before? You mentioned you had a 2-week window in there. How much, was it 3 hours? Was it 20 hours? What was the kind of the learning curve before you're like, okay, that's a good replan? We found our first replan.
Well, that 2 weeks, we studied pretty hard. We seized that opportunity while we were just on hold for our account to activate. Mm-hmm. And we spent that 2 weeks, I would say.
We put away
every night. Yeah, we were not watching TV at night. We were sourcing, we were searching, we were he would run to the store, take pictures. I would run to a different store, take pictures. And then we would meet back at night once the kids were in bed and asleep, and just go through every single picture and zoom in and find those profitable ones. Mm-hmm. And I would say back then we were okay with like a $3 profit. We were really excited about that.
Oh yeah. Those items are super exciting because if
absolutely.
I can find one, I can find 10, I can find 20, I can find 100. I've replaced my job income at that point.
Yeah. And that's how I had to start thinking. We're very like goal-driven people. So I had to we put on a piece of paper, like, for me to replace my job, we need this many ASINs and they need to yield us this much money. And to do that, we need to sell this many in this time frame. So that's how we had to switch our thinking. And then we had to go find those. And we were great with $3. I would say since then, when we started getting to 30,000 these last month and hopefully this month, we've gone for more expensive items. We're kind of out of grocery a little bit now. We still love grocery. It's fun. It's easy. But we've gotten into more of a specific area, and it yields us a higher profit. Now it's a higher investment also. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, that was something that we kind of struggled with a little bit, because we had to, in order to go into this area, we had to kind of leave the grocery behind a little bit, which I'm going, as our capital grows, we'll continue in our time, we'll continue to invest into, getting back into grocery. I mean, we're not out of it, but it's just, we're not as heavily into it as we were. Sure. And so once we get all of those numbers together with where we're at now, that's when I realized that this has got tremendous, a huge opportunity. And there's so many different ways that you can go into it. That's what I love about it too.
Hey, we'll get back to the show in just a second, but I want to tell you about the repricer that we use for my account, and many of the leaders on our team use as well. It's Beighle. You can power up your replen business and ramp up your Amazon sales with Beighle's latest brand new conditional repricer. It has artificial intelligence, machine learning built in. You can auto switch between many different artificial intelligence repricing rules like inventory levels or sales velocity, profit margin, countless other conditions. Mix and match different conditions up to hundreds of customized combinations that allow you to have a very distinct strategy that gives you a unique edge. The possibilities are endless with Beigle's Amazon repricer. Here's the deal. Sign up with our exclusive link for listeners of this show at silentgym.com/repricer. That's silentgym.com/repricer. To be eligible for a 30-day free trial, no credit card is required. For more information, go to Beigle's page, silentgym.com/repricer. Check it out. Hey, let's get back to the show. There's 3 or 4 doors you can go through.
Right.
And you find yourself forgetting to backtrack. You're like, wait, I walked through this beautiful path. I need to go back. Like, grocery was amazing. And we haven't talked about it in 6 months because we've been so busy over here. And that's what the journey feels like, is all these little things. Oh, I got to come back and revisit that. I got to go check that strategy. But you're just plowing forward, focusing on what's working. And that becomes the challenge, is how much time do I spend working in my business versus working on my business, bringing in good people to take over the systems that you've built so you can focus on the new strategies and really thoroughly go through and make sure, those grocery skills you've got are fully tapped into. But that takes time. And you guys have limited time right now. You're doing amazing for the time that you have. But just as a little lesson, that's the benefit of growing a team, is now you've got other people that can focus and make sure you've picked all the meat off that bone before you move on, kind of approach to this business. But you can also win just by kind of randomly drifting around and like, wow, I never even thought of selling that. People buy that. That's a replin. It weighs 60
that's how we
pounds.
found one of our really good items that I was just like, I don't even remember how. It was in the random part of Walmart, and I just stopped. And I just like, yeah, why not try this section? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that was when we were fully in grocery. And then I was like, whoa, okay. This, what else in here? And I still say that to her. What else in here have we not discovered? You know what I mean? That's what I love about it too, is it's like, I walk into Walmart now and I used to be like, oh, it's Walmart,
Get me out of here.
Yeah.
Get me
now
out
I
of
go
here.
to Walmart and I'm like, it's, the land of milk and honey. Like what's out here that I haven't discovered yet?
Right. Yeah. I'm like a kid in a candy store and in a retail store. If they've got shelves and barcodes, I'm like, can I get a half an hour? Is that okay? If they're like, I just really want to have some fun in here for a minute. And I don't want to leave people the impression that this business model requires you to go to stores. You guys already said yourself, you're doing it more online now, research. I think we've uncovered at this point dozens of ways to find replens. I've got people calling me now. For example, I've had a couple phone calls with a gentleman that he is really good at selling big, heavy items and shipping them effectively, building customized crates. And he's recently discovered Amazon. He's starting to sell some stuff there. He's discovering he's not approved to sell a lot of the things that he knows would sell very profitably there. So he contacted me and said, do you want to sell any of these things? Like, send them to me. If they're replen ASINs, yeah, sell them through my account. He does all the work. So that's another new creative way to find replens, right? There's this unlimited strategies for finding these replens. And it's something I want to get back to that you guys mentioned earlier. You were describing for us how you decided which products were winners and losers, and hey, this is a $3 profit item. But I want to talk specifically, like, what ROI are you looking for? How many drops per month are you looking? Let's keep a nerd just for a second, so people kind of get an image for like your $30,000 a month in sales. What type of product parameters is it based on? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I know you're more of the numbers person, so I'll let you talk about the ROI. I mean, we try, and obviously, I think the lowest for the ROI that we try to go for is like that 20 to 30.
Mm-hmm.
But our top replens, that's been a real winner for us, is at 100% ROI. So it's worth our investment because we're getting that back, and then we're getting, what we put into it out of it. But when we started back in February, like I said, we were really excited on that $3. And then we learned this is a lot of work. Like, it is work, manual work, prepping, polybagging, bubble wrapping. And then I have the children trying to help and breaking things. So in order for it to be like worth my time to touch it and prep it and send it off, we decided like we wanted to make at least $5 or up on that product. So we jumped up a hair on what was worth our time. And even since then, we've kind of jumped up even more, like, okay, 5 is great, but 7 or 10 or 12 is even better. And we'll maybe we don't move as many of them, but we don't need to because we make more off of it. Mm-hmm. So when we're sourcing now, we like to be at least 30 drops is what we look at.
Yeah.
And then we have some really great ASINs that are at like 90. And I mean, they're selling. We sent in something, we sent it off Saturday, and today is Wednesday.
Right.
So actually last night, 3 of them sold.
Right.
They're already gone.
And this is now how many other sellers? I'm suspecting there's a significant number of other sellers on something that drops 90 times a month.
Yeah,
which means,
I think maybe 30 other sellers on this product.
Okay, I want to spend some time on this because it's going to help me address some misconceptions that people have about the replens model. And just to set the conversation before we dive into it again, and you guys tell us more about this product without telling us what it is.
Sure.
We just said that this is a product that drops 30 times a month on Keep It, which means at least 30 sales per month. More realistically, once you get up over 15 or so drops a month, you can safely multiply that number by 4 or 5 or more to get the real number. So we're talking about a product that's selling way more than 100 times a month for all sellers combined, probably closer to 200 or 300 based on my experience, total sales per month. And you said there were 90 other sellers?
So I think we have it switched. There is 90 drops.
90 drops, 30 sellers. Sorry, I reversed the numbers. But so 90 drops means this is something that's probably selling significantly more than that, 500 to 800 a month, I would say, for the 30 sellers that are selling it. And I would imagine some of them are kind of playing in the mud on the low price point. In the lowest, barely making any margin. Like, where are you guys in the mix of other sellers? And how many of them are FBA sellers? Let's unpack this a little bit.
So there's 2 items that the one that you mentioned, which is majority FBA, but there's another one that's got about the same. It's about 70, 80 drops and about 28, 30 sellers on that one. And that's mostly merchant because I think it's just a matter of getting it from the store and repackaging it into a bulk item. And so that one that's FBM, but that's just, there's 2 items that I can say that are like that. I kind of went off on a rabbit trail there, but I think, it's just the FBA one that we sent off.
We try to stay we're definitely not at the bottom, the lowest price. We try to be like medium to the higher price to make it worth our time and our effort and our investment and having our money tied up in it. So we'll hold out. Like, I'm not going to drop my price just to make that sale turn over quickly. I'm fine with holding out until, it's our time. But yes, we have seen people jump on the listing and we're like, how are they making money? But they sell out and you can watch them come back in, but now they're at the higher price that's more profitable.
Yes.
But we try to be at least in line where everybody is, if not just a little bit higher to make it worth our time and our money.
Yeah, I would say we're, the low people are probably $5 to $6 cheaper. And then once we ride that wave and it comes back to us, then sell out, and then.
And what price points are we talking about? The low people are priced at what approximately? Because I want to use a good illustration here to teach a couple important lessons that I think you guys have learned already and some sellers haven't. So what's the lowest priced person on this particular FBA? So we'll get to your FBM example here in just a minute, Jill, but the one that we're sending in, and there's FBA sellers kind of all over it.
So that particular product that we originally started talking about that we shipped off Saturday, and we've made 3 sales last night on Tuesday with the 90 drops. That product we're priced at, I believe, $42, $42.99. And then you have some sellers hanging out at around $34.99.
Right. And you got some higher than you as well.
Yes.
And you guys are making sales, and you're well outside that 5 or 10% window as well. And you're still making sales. That's the point I want to drive home is, especially this is the beauty of Keepa. If you get into those ASINs where there's a lot of activity, 90 drops a month, 400, 500, 600 sales a month type of looking ASINs, they're just flying. You can jump in the middle of the pack on your FBA price. It's going to be a good ASIN for you. You're not going to be the person selling 20 units a day for 50 cents profit.
Right.
Let them do that. I don't know how they sustain that business. That's great. Good for you. But those folks are going to sell out consistently.
Yeah.
And the whole pricing structure will drift up as people notice, wow, I could be making $5 or $6 a sale instead of a nickel. I'm going to hang out with these guys.
Yeah.
Now everybody benefits, right? So the buy box is rotating so fast and people are selling out so fast on those ASINs. Those are really fun ASINs to play in. I think a lot of people kind of look for I want to stay away from other sellers. I want to find those, 10 to 15 drops a month ASINs and sell 1 or 2 a month. It's fun to get into some of the ones like you guys are in and see consistent, steady action at a nice price range. How many replens do you guys have total? We didn't hit that number yet.
So actively today we have 100 active.
Beautiful.
We have what we need to go shop for, and what we need to replenish would probably be about 250. It's just finding that time to go buy it and send it off.
Yeah,
that's the bottleneck. Sounds like finding new ASINs has become easier than keeping the stuff that you've found stocked, right? That's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Wow. And so let's talk about that FBM ASIN, just so people know the difference, Joel. That's one where you guys are actually shipping it yourself. You don't even take the time to send it in FBA. What's your logic there? Why haven't you? Just because every time you find it, it sells instantly? You don't need to. Is that why?
Yeah, that, and it's sold as a set. So it's a lot more work to send into FBA versus, and it sells FBM. I mean, we might be able to make more if we send it to FBA, but getting it together and making sure that it's sold as a pack, getting it sent off and waiting maybe a couple weeks at max. I find that I like, it's one of those things. I like to chase the items that sell really hot like that. It gives me a rush. Like that gets me excited.
For sure. Yeah. So, it never gets old. It never gets old. Yeah. I've got to turn that part of my brain off. I'm like, okay, I'm going out and I'm going to work and I'm going to go make $150. But if I just stayed in my office and focused, I'm building the whole machine. I hire a shopper, right? And those are the kind of fun decisions you guys will start making. I think that's a good transition. Like you guys have kind of gone through some stages of growth. Some people, and it's not that there's a right or wrong way to do this, but some people it takes them a year to get to the kind of the point where you guys are at, where you're thinking, okay, we need to think through our time. What's the best way to scale? Should we be hiring somebody? What's the next tool we need to keep this thing growing so we can continue putting in the same amount of effort, but see more results? Be working on our business instead of in it. Stop touching box tape at some point, which, by the way, for people who are thinking to themselves, I probably should have mentioned this earlier. A lot of people get the impression that replens means I got to sit at home on Saturday and pack boxes. No, your neighbor could do that for you for $15 an hour. That single mom across the street who needs flexible money in the evenings, train her in an hour and a half.
Right.
It'd be better than you ever were in about a week because you're distracted and busy and doing 18 other things. Right. But I want to turn the ball over to you guys. What do you see as those next steps of growth for you? Like, what's the map look like for you guys the next 6 months? I know you're only 2 weeks in here, but as a coach, I just naturally go to, hey, good job. Let's celebrate 10 seconds. Okay. Celebration's over. What's next? Right. Yeah. That's kind of my job.
Yeah.
And where are we heading with this?
You want to talk about that or do you want me to?
Well,
just vision casting even.
We recently took Rich Potter's wholesale course. And what makes us a little bit unique, I typically wouldn't be like, wholesale right out, 3-4 months into this like we are, because it's a risk, absolutely, because you have a lot of money tied up in inventory. But what makes us unique about it is we have access to almost like a warehouse space. My dad is actually a cattle rancher, and on one of his properties is basically a warehouse, and it has a sliding door for trucks. Like it's turnkey. So what makes it really unique is when we started selling on Amazon, we told my mom and dad about it, and they were like, listen, this facility is yours when you're ready. Like, we will dream as big as you want to dream with it. And when you're ready, you stock it full of product. And so we took that and we were like, challenge accepted. And so we did take Rich Potter's wholesale course, and we're actually still in it. And we just learned so much about it.
Yeah. ProvenWholesaleSourcing.com. Rich is one of the great leaders on our team. I think they're aiming to hit 5 or 6 million this year using it. It's a replen strategy. But
Yeah.
because sometimes when people hear, oh, I'm going to get into wholesale, they think, well, I'm going to go find products that aren't on Amazon yet and buy them from a wholesaler and get them some momentum, I hope, roll the dice. No, it's replens. You're looking for products that are, you're looking for ASINs that are underserved.
Yeah.
But you're looking through wholesale lists to do it. You're looking for wholesale sellers that are underserved when they're ASINs.
Right.
Beautiful. Have you found any yet?
So this week we'll probably make our first purchase order. And what makes this really unique is it's a manufacturing company that's basically 20 minutes from our house.
No way. That's beautiful.
And we used Rich's strategy on SmartScout to find it. And it's really about the relationship. And so Joel, he just called the guy up and was like, can I come out and talk to you? And the guy was very accepting of it. We told him what we did. We did have a website made actually as well through Hummingbird.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gotten that back 2 weeks ago. And it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
That's great. You guys are like a walking advertisement. People are going to like, hey, did Jim pay you to say all those nice things?
No,
we've got a little bit to unpack here. And then I want to get back into your story. So you mentioned the Proven Wholesale Sourcing Strategy, provenwholesalesourcing.com. That is phenomenal course to go through. And it teaches you how to use a tool called SmartScout, which, by the way, I had a meeting was it last week? A little more than a week ago with Scott Needham, the guy who wrote the software. He was in Indianapolis. We got to hang out for a little while.
Oh, wow.
It's his tool. Great guy. Great. He gave us an incredible deal. I think it's silentjim.com/SS, I believe. If that's not the right link, there'll be one in the show notes for SmartScout, a huge discount for our community. And that tool does some unique things that allow you to start to dig into the world of wholesale after you've applied Rich's course and you get your SmartScout subscription. You guys have found a wholesaler. And I love what you just said. You recognize the importance of, and it's a hot button for me, the relationship. Rather than sending him an email or, just being impersonal about it, you said, hey, look, can we meet? Can I come talk to you? Mm-hmm. And now you've got that relationship rolling. So he's got some ASINs, this local wholesaler, that look good on Amazon, I take it.
Yeah. Actually, it's lined up so perfectly that, again, it's a blessing. It's the Lord because
we never even knew this company existed.
Right. Those are the best.
And it's basically in our backyard. We pass this place all the time.
Yeah.
And they were so accepting of us and Joel and what we do. And they have other Amazon sellers and they were fine with adding another one. And there's definitely the profit margin to be had and the demand. I mean, when you look at some of the Keepa on their products, we were just like,
the average Keepa is showing 50 drops. And so I've been coming to Leanza every day. I'm like, you know what item has 50 drops? We sell like crazy. And just to give a comparison of it. Yeah. It's just we've reached out to other people in our state and haven't, because it's like Rich says, for every 40, you might only get one yes.
Right.
And the relationship is what helped us along with the website and what our strategy, how we could benefit them.
The old rule of thumb with wholesale was one out of every 200 to 250 or so would say yes. Wow. Rich has got it dialed in to a tighter program. Yeah. But it sounds like you guys hit a winner pretty fast.
Yeah, we got lucky.
It sounds to me too like there may be potential here as you build the relationship to help them put their own inventory on Amazon and maintain full control of their own Amazon account, because I'm sure they're going to run into some issues over time having third-party sellers in there. And then you get a percentage of that. That's the proven product partnering training. There's a module in the Proven Amazon course that addresses that scenario. So if they kind of start to feel like they're outgrowing the third-party sellers at any point and kind of give you some hints that they want to take it over and do it themselves, you'd say, well, we can do that for you. And then you guys get a percent of every check that Amazon sends them and you run the entire thing for them because you'll have more than enough skills at that point to help them manage the whole process. It may even make sense for you to offer that to them at some point. So now you're getting a cut of every sale instead of a cut of just your portion of the sales that are made, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. We can help you through that if needed. But that PPP module, it's a great way to diversify on Amazon.
Right.
Help brands get set up selling on their own accounts, and you get admin rights, and the numbers, and you get paid a percent.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that I've already seen, and I really studied uh, all of the keep on the items, the ASINs that we're looking at, and you know, just saying like making sure that we're looking for people who are violating MAP, and showing how you're benefiting that company in that relationship, So that's actually one of the thoughts that popped into my head too, is what you just mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. But just partner up with them and manage their account for them and help them fight off the other sellers that they don't want, and establish their brand registry, trademark, maybe get some video content. You guys have already used Hummingbird, which you mentioned, that helps you set up your website so you have a good looking wholesale website. So when people say, hey, what's your website? We're going to sell you wholesale. We want to know more about your business. Well, here's our website. The same company that does that, Hummingbird, can also help you with brand registry, video content, if they want to get some good looking online pictures for Amazon, and Nathan, our coaching director, nerds out over A+ content and that sort of thing to really give their brand an advantage in the marketplace. We can help you with that too. So a lot of different directions to go.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking to some seasoned sellers here. You guys really have taken this seriously, and it just is so obvious to me that you guys have turned this over to God and said, guide us. And the divine appointments, right? I can tell when I'm living right and I've turned it all over to God, when those right people at the right time is going to drop.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what it feels like. And that's where you guys are at. Well, what else do you guys want to share? What else you want to talk about? I think we've dropped a lot of nuggets so far, but was there anything else on your list or anything you want to go over before we start to wrap this one up?
I think just it's worth mentioning. I wouldn't be. Neither of us would be where we're at without each other. I think that that's what's helped us with so much success. And I've had a couple people reach out to me, and they're like, "How are you doing this? So quickly?" And I just be sure to tell them, like, without my wife, I probably would have gotten discouraged a couple of times. Like, I probably would have never kept track of the numbers, like she does. And I may have even said, like, I don't know if this is worth it. And then, she brought the numbers to me the first month and a half into it. And I was doing it and not really realizing what we were doing in terms of numbers. And then that's when I was like, wow, the potential here is just awesome. It's as much as you put into it, that's going to give back to you. Right. And that became very clear early on because of her and showing me all the numbers that you keep track of. I'm not a numbers person. She is.
Yeah. Well, you hit on a key point, and we mention it all the time, but you brought it up, not me. So no one can accuse me of soapboxing on one of my favorite topics, but we're just not meant to be alone. And the Bible tells us that very early on. The first few pages of the book says man was not meant to be alone. It's not just talking about the marriage relationship, although that's certainly included. It's saying don't do life alone. That we all need those times where we get away and isolate ourselves for a time and, get at peace and pray and, some isolation for brief moments. But extended period of time trying to do business yourself, you're nuts. It's not going to work. You need people who are weak where you're strong, and you're strong where they're weak. And then that synergy effect kicks in. Yeah. And you guys have built something 5 times bigger than you could have built individually, adding your efforts together. Right. So well done. I love that you brought that up. And because I used to be kind of anti-partnership, but I'm finding myself as I've kind of matured and grown in business, like, no, you need to do that. You need to take those partnership risks, and what you call it and how you word it on paper. We can debate that, but you need people who are weak where you're strong and strong where you're weak. You can synergize together with as early as possible. And ideally it's your spouse. That's great. But if it's not, that's fine too. But it needs to be somebody that can iron sharpen iron a little bit, right? Great point. Appreciate that. What else is on your list? If there's anything else you guys want to go over, or did you have any questions for me? Julie said, I thought they have a question.
I mean, I think one of the first questions that comes to mind, and I think where and you mentioned it earlier, was looking into a VA, and Leanza's mentioned that to me. I'm very, very frugal, and I'm the first thing that came to my mind when she mentioned it, I was like, and that money we could put into like a replan, but you have to think of it in terms of how it's going to benefit you in the long run and bring you more potential. I heard you say that that's probably the next thing for us. And I agree with that. I mean, I think that that's the next thing that we're going to be looking at is that VA, once we kind of get the wholesale account figured out, that we just,
yeah. And thanks for the reminder. That was one of the things I said we were going to revisit earlier, but just to fill you guys in and for the listeners' sake too, we've got the Proven Replens VA program, PRV. We've got all these acronyms around here, provenreplensva.com, making myself a note. And that will be probably the next person that you bring on your team, unless you get someone to help, maybe start helping you source. That could possibly help as well. But when I start talking to people about that first hire, I like to say, make it someone that brings revenue to the table. So it's not someone that makes your life more convenient. It's someone that brings more money into the business. And that would be a virtual assistant trained in, there's many ways you could do it. You could train them yourself. You can go to any of the virtual assistant websites that are out there and find someone and train them and show them your systems. Certainly one of the options you have. But one of the things we've been doing for a couple hundred clients so far, it's going beautifully, is training virtual assistants for them for a fee, of course, and then turning them over to work only for you. And that's what makes our program unique, is they won't be working for 15 or 20 or 50 other Amazon sellers.
Yeah.
They're working just for you, finding replens. So you wake up every day, you got 5 to 12, 15 or more new replens every single day based on the parameters you guys have set up.
Right.
And they can be trained to do anything else you want them to as well. We've been talking about doing some ongoing training with all of our VAs. So we kind of keep them up to speed on the latest strategies as they come down the pike. But I think that's going to make a lot of sense for you guys to move in that direction. Just basically anything that's repetitive or tedious or could be systemized, you start passing that out, handing it off, building your virtual team, using VAs. Maybe I really like the model of using neighbors who live near you to be shoppers and preppers, right? Showing up at your warehouse that your dad has, Leanza, using that space. And pretty soon you guys are going to have your own little ministry and people and team, and it's going to start growing. It's just so fun. You mentioned early on, Joel, that you wanted to do something, you felt like you were pouring yourself into building something that your kids could start to step into. And I've seen that. My kids now have this backup gig that they can step into and out of anytime they want to, where they can truly contribute. It's not nepotism. They're contributing value. They show up and they're going to work hard, but it's there for them if they need it. Right. That's a great feeling. I love it. That's a good question and good topic for sure. Hopefully some folks will go check that out. And I think you guys are set up very well for it. I think no matter when you do it, you're going to think to yourself, yeah, we probably could have done this sooner, because it's just, it's life-changing really to wake up every day and have ASINs right there.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, what other topics, anything else on your list before we start to wrap this one up?
I don't think so. I think for anybody out there who wants to sell on Amazon, it's definitely doable. It's work, absolutely, but it's possible, and there's money to make in it. But I one of your podcasts I listened to, it was actually a brother and sister, and they do a lot of unique grocery. I can't remember their names.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. I can't either. It's not common names,
right?
Yes,
They do a lot of unique
beautiful
grocery.
Couple. Man, I hope they're coming to the event.
Yeah, they were wonderful, and I was really, really inspired by their podcast. And at the end of it, she said, "Don't despise small beginnings."
Yes.
And I had to just take that in. And I thought, you know what? You're right. I can't despise this small beginning, because I know if I don't start here, it's not going to grow to anything big. So I have to be okay to start small. So just be willing to have that small beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice. And that those first few ASINs that you find, kind of that proof of concept, are just so significant. It can be kind of maddening, the build up to finding those first 5 or 10 ASINs, or even your first one. There's a lot of build up. But then once you've got your system and your routine, it really starts to flow nicely. And you'll have other mountains to climb, of course. But yeah, we see a lot of people get kind of stuck in that, man, I haven't found any ASINs yet. I've studied for 15 hours. I've taken pictures. I've gone to the store. I've tried. I haven't found anything yet. And they're just that frustrated. So I love hearing stories like yours, because it shows them once you've found those first few, you could be 2 or 3 months from really changing your life in a dramatic way. It's worth the struggle to figure this system out. Real people are doing this every day. And Walmart is where everybody has a Walmart. I've even gotten away from suggesting people start there, because it's just people get the impression like, well, everything at Walmart's picked over. Well, no, there's still great replens in every aisle at Walmart. You just have to be persistent. You have to learn the system. So yeah, don't despise small beginnings, humble beginnings. It's going to take some work. I love the theme here. We're not sugarcoating anything, but it's viable. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well done. And we talked before we hit the record button today, but I just want to let you guys know and remind you, I really want you there at the conference. If you can work it out, you're working on sitters, right?
Yeah.
That's the challenge right now. But so for those who are planning on coming to the website is theprovenconference.com, August 12th through 14th, 2022 in Louisville, Kentucky, which you guys might have to hop on a plane to do that. That's a bit of a ride. But love to see you guys there. And hopefully you can work that out. I know it's a bit of a coin toss right now with school starting and schedules, but it'd be certainly great to meet you guys face to face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know you're going to do what you can. All right. Well, I'm going to talk to the listeners now for a minute and then just basically tell them how much I appreciate hanging out with you guys and give a couple announcements. So for those of you who listened today and hung out or maybe watched on YouTube, I really appreciate it. It was really great for me to hang out with a couple of the new students and hear this great story. It's always so encouraging for me. I hope you were encouraged as well. And just to speak from my heart to you as a listener, I'm truly grateful that you gave me some of your very valuable resource, your time. Thank you for that. But I think if you put into practice what you've heard and learned today, maybe it was even just a marriage tip or just watching the way this beautiful couple interacts and they're doing life together. Maybe you learned something there and you don't plan to do anything with Amazon. There were a lot of nuggets here today. Maybe the challenge for you is I need to turn what I'm doing over to God. That's a beautiful nugget to take. Or maybe you're just ready to step into an Amazon business. We're here to help you out. We've got a community of people. We just passed 69,000 members in our free Facebook group. There's a link at silentgym.com to that. We'd love to have you come join. Joel and Leanza are in there. That's how I found out about their success story. They made a post and shared their progress. And I was excited to invite them on to share with the rest of us what they're doing and their progress. So come be a part of our community. Plenty of free resources. You can take your time, no pressure. We're not here to try to sell you something. We really want the best life that God has intended for you to have for you. And if that includes building a business from home, maybe working with your spouse, hey, we want to help make that happen. Okay. So thanks for hanging out with us today. God bless all the business building warriors that hang out with us and make this show what it is. Without you, we would have no marketing because you guys share and spread the word and tell friends and send people to silentgym.com. And we appreciate that. So leave us 5 stars, a review, a thumbs up, subscribe if you're on YouTube. We sure appreciate all of that. And Joel and Leanza, you guys were tremendous. Thanks once again.
Thank you. Truly, thank you so much.
Great hanging out with you guys. And to all the listeners, we'll have another great episode again for you real soon. Hey, before I let you go, I want to remind you about our latest sponsor for the program, Beighle. They're a repricer that will help you power up your replen business and ramp up your Amazon sales with their latest conditional AI machine learning. That's artificial intelligence repricing. Auto switch between several different artificial intelligence repricing rules like inventory levels, sales velocity, units sold. There's several different, actually hundreds of different strategies that you can use, unique combinations that will give you a creative advantage over anyone else who's selling on the same ASINs that you are. You can get their special offer, which includes 30-day free trial, no credit card required. Incredible offer. Go to silentgym.com/repricer. Again, silentgym.com/repricer. Thanks for sponsoring the program, Beighle. Go check out this offer.